Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the B-Roll podcast. Brian Suffield here, your host, of course. Welcome to episode 2 of this show. I'm very excited for you guys to be here today on this episode. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who listened to the very first episode of this show where I reviewed not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 movies. I reviewed a lot of stuff, and it's nice to take a breather. It's nice to relax, because today's going to be a much more laid-back topic. One that might be positive, but also negative at the same time. Today's main topic is going to be discussing the Oscar nominations. The Oscar nominations dropped earlier in the week, and there's a lot of things that need to be said about these nominations. I have no idea if anyone out there is proud of these nominations or if they're ticked off with them. I've seen a lot of divisive things about these nominations, and I'm really excited to delve into them here today on the B-Roll. But I'm very excited to welcome the first guest of the show today, and his name is Gabe Lillianthal. Gabe, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm ready to dig into this stuff, man. It's that time of year again, Oscar season. I don't know why we get so excited about it, but, Here we are. It's an institution.
The Oscars apparently don't matter, and everyone says, oh, the Oscars don't really matter, they're not important to what happens in the society. We live in the society. That's a nod to Justice League. Zack Snyder's Justice League. It just came out this weekend. No review for that, but I'll just say that it is absolutely incredible. Oh my god, it is so good. Oh my god. So, Gabe, I'm very excited to have you on the show. Now, a little background is that we went to school together. We went to film school together. And I just wanted to ask you some questions for the audience to introduce yourself. So, what got you into film? Why do you love film so much? And what would you like to do with film for the future?
Well, the weird thing about just my starting in wanting to become a filmmaker and loving film so much in the first place, I don't really know where it came from. Very early on in life, when my mind was first starting to conceive thoughts in my head, I wanted to do film, and I was very interested in the entertainment world. So it never really, it was like a bug and like an infection that never came out of my body. So ever since then, I've always wanted to be involved in entertainment, and film obviously has been a consistent and huge part of my life ever since I first saw Tarzan in theaters. It's just all been uphill from there, and going to school with you in Montclair, it was such an eye-opening experience in so many ways. It really introduced a whole world of film that even I wasn't prepared for, and it just kind of continued my love of it. So one of the things that I really love doing, and to answer your last question, moving forward in the future, I would love to be able to do something like this for a living and be able to talk through the happenings of the entertainment world, especially film, and be able to talk to a global audience about what's happening. Because there's always so much going on, and even though we've had a weird 2020, we're still feeling the aftermath of that.
Yeah,
there's still so much going on. It's really impressive.
Definitely. I agree 100%. It's crazy to think that this all started a year ago. Here in the United States, this is when it got crazy, and pretty much around the world. Once March 2020 came around, that's when it all started. Then at the halfway point, that's when everything got shut down, and people had to stay home. They were in lockdown. People were leaving work, and, schools were being shut down. I mean, our school, we moved virtually for our last 2 months of college, which was insane to believe that we got to, it's crazy that, that happened. And everyone said to me, all these adults, they're like, oh, it must have sucked doing virtual learning. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if you felt this way the last 2 months, but I mean, it didn't really impact anything because, I already did the big part. I had already shot my thesis. I know you you shot yours, so it's we already did the big part, and now we're just trying to graduate at this point. So, wild ride, truly. truly wild ride. And it's crazy.
We definitely got lucky.
We did get lucky, and it's crazy that this is all still going on. But people now are going back to school, which is exciting. I can't even imagine being a student in school during this time, especially below college, like high school and lower. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine being a kid who's like in elementary school and has to go to school and like wear a mask. And I can't even imagine what that's like. But, we're not here to talk about academics. This isn't what we talk about on this show. We talk about film. So we're going to get into these crazy stories that happen in the world of film these past few weeks. So the first story I want to talk about, I want to ask you this, Gabe. What's your opinion on Creed, the movie, the Rocky spinoff films? Are you a fan of Creed? Are you a fan of Rocky? Yeah, I have a Rocky poster right where is it? Right here. Here it is. Right here. Clearly I'm a hater of Rocky. I mean, why else would I have a poster of it on my wall? But yeah, do you enjoy the Rocky films, the Creed films? What's your take on them?
Well, they're very easy to hate, first of all. But Rocky is really an incredible series because it started off so independent. It's really one of the few series that I can remember that garnered so much recognition across America and even worldwide to an extent.
Yeah, and it won Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yeah. Exactly, teeing into our later conversation, which is just, it's so unbelievable to think about because it was such a small production. Sylvester Stallone did a lot of the back end on his own, all the the writing. Did he direct it? I know he produced it, but I don't think he directed it.
No, he directed 2 through.
He directed 2.
He directed 2 through 4, and then he did 6. So he's directed 4 of the original 6 movies.
Okay, I mean, even that aside, I know this was obviously a very personal, introspective project for him. So to see it garner so much recognition and then have so many subsequent sequels is just an insane, and I keep saying an unprecedented thing in American film. And it jumpstarted a whole lot of our things like franchises on their own, things like that. The franchises weren't hitting the same kind of numbers that Rocky was until Rocky got to number 4. Not. And so many people remember that one as much as all the other ones, too. So it's just a crazy, crazy concept. And when Creed came out, obviously there was a lot of apprehension because there were so many years in between the weird revival of the Rocky series and Rocky Balboa. So it kind of left off on a weird note, the series. So when Creed came around, it was really a breath of fresh air. And I very much enjoyed it, and I think it can be attributed a lot to Michael B. Jordan, of course, but Ryan Coogler as well, who is an unbelievable director in his own right. And they really injected an insane dose of momentum for that series. I didn't even see the second one, but the first one, thumbs up.
Yeah, it's funny because when Creed was announced, I thought it sounded like the stupidest thing ever. Oh, we're going to follow Apollo Creed's kid? Like, is that even really necessary? And they announced it just when Fruitvale Station had come out, and I was a big fan of Fruitvale Station. I don't know how you felt about it, but I was really in love with that movie. Like, it literally had just come out when this news broke. I'm like, I want to see more from this Ryan Coogler guy, and I think it's cool that he's going to be doing like a bigger project, but is this Creed movie really necessary? And then he explained why he wanted to do it. Even Sylvester Stallone was hesitant of doing it. Then he saw Fruitvale Station. It's like, oh, I got to work with this Ryan Coogler guy. And then Creed came out to wonderful reception, critically and financially. I think it was my number 3 of 2015. It was very high for me. I absolutely adored Creed. As a lifelong fan of Rocky, I thought the film was incredible, but it also stood out on its own, like it's its own thing. That was great. And the sequel I thought was really, really great. Not on the same level as the first one. I think Ryan Coogler not directed it definitely added to that, but the guy who directed it, Stephen Cable Jr., that was his directorial debut, and that was a really strong debut. And now Creed 3 is going to be coming out next Thanksgiving, and it was just announced that the guy that's going to be directing Creed 3 is none other than Creed himself, Michael B. Jordan. he will be making his directorial debut with Creed 3. And I gotta say, I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to come out, because obviously the guy's never directed anything before, and this is a big project to tackle as your first film. So I'm very intrigued to see how this plays out.
Huge,
I kind of didn't want any more Creed after Creed 2, because Creed 2 wrapped up a lot of things very nicely. I don't even know. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I don't know if Rocky's going to be in Creed 3. They haven't said anything about Sylvester Stallone coming back. I'm sure he's going to be producing the film, but I don't know if he's going to be acting in it, which is very upsetting, because Stallone, I thought, was so incredible in Creed. Like, that performance blew everyone away. Like, that was the best acting he had done in a long time. And he lost an Oscar. He should have won the Oscar. That's just my opinion. I think he should have won. But, yeah, Creed 3, I'm very intrigued to see how it plays out, primarily because Michael B. Jordan is stepping behind the camera. I think the guy's a fantastic actor. I think he's proven himself to be one of the best up-and-coming actors we have working today. And he's very versatile with his work. He's done so many different genres. I mean, he got his start on TV with Friday Night Lights, and then he's been doing all these movies. Fruitvale Station, showcase wonderful acting chops. Creed, Black. Anytime he works with Ryan Coogler, he's on his A game, Michael B. Jordan. But even outside of working with him, he's still really, really strong. And I'm very excited to see how this plays out. I'm going to keep my expectations low, since this is a directorial debut from somebody who has never directed a film on this scale. I mean, this isn't like directing a Star Wars movie, but this is still like a big film to direct. So I'm really curious to see how this plays out. I mean, what about you? Do you think that this could be cool? Like, how do you feel about this?
Well, he's got a lot of weight on his very muscular shoulders.
Very muscular.
There's a big legacy behind him. I think he understands it, though, being so, well affirmed with the whole series now. He's kind of cemented himself in that series, so he understands what he needs to do in this job coming in as a director. I think I'm going to give you a free segue with this one. I think we're going to be able to learn a lot after seeing things like One Night in Miami, where you get an actress like Regina King doing her directorial debut and having it be very acting focused. I think we're going to be able to see a lot of that similar style when it comes to the new Creed movie. I think there's going to be a pretty big emphasis on acting, just because of that's where Michael B. Jordan has come from.
Oh, definitely. I agree with you on that. And that was a good segue, because our next topic, this is really exciting. So, the Criterion Collection, who I love dearly, I started collecting their stuff very heavily within the past year. I love their stuff so much. I've been watching a lot of films that are on the collection, courtesy of the Criterion channel, which is awesome. So the Criterion Collection announced that they are going to be releasing 3 of the Amazon films from 2020 on their collection at some point this year. And those films are One Night in Miami, Sound of Metal, and Time. And this isn't going to be the only time that we're going to be talking about these films today, so just hang on tight, boys and girls. I think this is really exciting that these films are going to be getting a physical release, because I know that I don't really think any of these films had a theatrical run. I know One Night in Miami had a limited theatrical run, but I don't know if we're going to get these movies digitally. I'm a big supporter of physical media, and I don't buy everything on physical media. I usually buy stuff that I know I'm going to watch again. And I know that people are like, why would you buy this if you could just watch it anytime you want on the streaming services? Because when Roma, a film we're also going to be talking about later on, The Irishman and Marriage Story came to the Criterion Collection, everyone's like, oh, why would you buy those if you could just watch this on Netflix? And I'm like, because I love physical media. I love these movies very much. And also, I love the Criterion Collection, so I'm going to support them in any way I can. So I think this is really exciting that these films get to come to the Criterion Collection. I always get very fascinated to see what kind of bonus features they have on the collection. These are 3 excellent films, and we'll give more input on these films later on when we talk about the Oscar nominations, because all 3 of these films are up for Oscar nominations. But yeah, I'm really excited to see these films on the collection. I cannot wait to pick these up because these are all three films that I'm definitely going to pick up. I'm a big fan of each of them. Sound of Metal was in my top 10 of 2020, and One Night in Miami and Time were right outside the top 10. Those are three excellent films. I think Time, we'll touch upon it a bit more later, but I think Time is the front runner to win Best Documentary at the Oscars, and it should because it's incredible. It's fantastic. One of the best documentaries I've seen in the past few years. And then Sound of Metal is wonderful, and we'll touch more upon. And then One Night in Miami, one of the best directorial debuts of the past, I would say, 5 years. I really liked it when I've only seen it once, and I really liked it a lot, and I'm looking forward to watching it again before the ceremony because it's up for a few major awards and everything. But yeah, I love this news. I got so excited when I saw this, and I cannot wait to pick these up.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think you brought up a great point, is the beautiful thing that comes with having a Criterion Collection release for films like these is they put so much time into effort into curating what their bonus features are, and they're very tailor made to the films that they're putting in. So that's why I think makes it such an attractive thing for these more recent releases, is you get so much content along with just the movie itself for these movies that had just come out. And while I think that all three of these movies are really good additions, there is something that I wanted to touch on about this. And you mentioned the Netflix acquisitions too, and that was going to be a piece of it, is I'm trying to think whether or not it's weird that these two different streaming services over the past few years have kind of like bundled movies for the Criterion Collection and like were purchased. I don't know how I feel about getting bought into the Criterion Collection given what the Criterion Collection stands for. But they've picked good movies, as you mentioned, Roma, Marriage Story, Irishman, fantastic movies, and One Night in Miami, Time. Sound of Metal, of course, they're all very good movies in varying degrees, but all very good movies. I just can't shake the feeling that I just hope it doesn't set some sort of precedent where all these streaming services say to themselves, "Oh, hey, I'm Hulu. I have a lot of money. If I pay the Criterion Collection to put Palm Springs in the Criterion Collection..."
Oh, no, that would be a day one buy for me. That would be a day one buy because that was my favorite film of the year. That would be a day one buy for me.
Oh, touche. This is a very good movie, too. Absolutely. It's up there for me, too. For sure. No knack on Palm Springs, just to put the idea out there.
No, I totally understand what you mean because the Criterion Collection is, a lot of people think like, the Criterion Collection just releases super old movies from like before our time and everything. And yeah, they've released a lot of movies from before our time. A lot of the movies that they've released I never even heard of until I learned more about the Criterion Collection like 5 years ago or so when I was in high school. And they've just done so many releases that my thing with the Criterion Collection, and I don't want to go too off tangent, but luckily since we're talking about this, I just want to say this. My thing with the Criterion Collection is that they release like 5 movies a month. I really don't know if that's a good idea. I feel like they should cut it down to maybe 3 a month, maybe 2 or 3, because it's like, think about like if they run out of suggestions. I don't think they're ever going to run out of movies to release because they've released everything that Wes Anderson's done so far, and they've released everything that David Lynch has done so far. They keep going through these directors' catalogs and everything, which is great, and that's awesome and everything, but you really think about it this way. I totally understand. It's like all these streaming services are going to be banking on the fact that Criterion is going to be putting out their movies. You brought up Hulu. They actually put out a Criterion for Minding the Gap a few months ago. And, right. I have a feeling that there's going to be more releases from these streaming services, on the Criterion Collection. I want a Criterion of WandaVision. Let's make that happen. No, but in all seriousness, I think this is really great because these are 3 films that are deserving to be on the Criterion Collection. And I mean, listen, I'm a guy that's like, is a Parasite Criterion needed right away? Listen, the film is a masterpiece and it's one of the greatest films I've ever seen, but is it needed right away? Well, maybe not, but at the same time it's Parasite, so
Right.
it's totally fine. But we brought up Netflix, and even though this particular film that we're about to touch upon isn't coming to Netflix, we have some updates regarding the star of one of Netflix's best reviewed movies, Roma, Yalitza Aparicio. She was the star of Roma. That was her acting debut. Got her an Oscar nomination and a very deserving nomination. Let's just say that she was fantastic in that film. One of the best performances of that year. I knew that she wasn't going to win the Oscar when she got nominated, but the nomination was so deserving. That was a great performance. And Roma's not a film that you could rewatch over and over again. I bought the Criterion. I was a big fan of Roma. I only saw it once, and I adored it. It was one of my favorites that year. But I've been really itching to see more with Yalitza. And now she's currently in the middle of filming her first movie after Roma. And I have the information pulled up right here. It's called Pre-Census. It's going to be a horror film. And the film tells the story of a man who loses his wife and goes to seclude himself in the cabin in the woods where strange things happen. The film is currently filming right now as we speak. I don't even care what the film is about. I'm just really, really, really excited to see her act again. Her performance as Cleo in Roma, I mean, I remember watching the film and being like, this woman is incredible. And the funny thing is, she's a teacher. She has a degree in teaching. I don't know if she went on to pursue a career as a teacher. I'm not entirely sure about that. I think it's cool that this woman who has a teaching degree decide, hey, I'll act in a movie. It will be great probably, but it probably won't really matter. You get an Oscar nomination, so
no big deal or anything.
Not a big deal whatsoever. But no, this is great. The film that she's going to be in sounds pretty cool, but honestly, I'm more excited just to see her in something else again. What about you? What did you think of Roma? And if you saw it, and I know you did, what did you think specifically of her performance?
Well, I mean, Roma was my favorite film of, I think it was 2017?
2018.
Was that what it was?
You were close. 2018.
2018.
Damn.
Not very good at, whatever. All right. So, Roma, though, my favorite film of that year, it was particularly interesting because it really combined such beautiful visuals with such real concepts. And I think Alfonso Cuarón did an amazing job of keeping that story so grounded, but had such a unique visual style to it. It's one of my favorite films visually to watch. I've watched it a couple times, and every time I see it, there's so many details that they pack into each of those long shots, following the characters through different areas and things like that. Alfonso Cuarón is a master of movement through space, and that movie really elevates that to a whole crazy level, considering how simple everything is in it. In terms of her main performance in that movie, she brings an insane amount of soul and heart to that role, where I think it was just finding a needle in a haystack situation with casting her. Not that I think it was such a interchangeable role, but she's so perfect in it. And through her mannerisms in it, everything feels like it's from such a seasoned actor, and yet she's so new. And that's why I am definitely excited to see what happens with this new project she's doing. My only concern is it's going to be a genre piece. It's going to be horror. It's a very different style of movie to what we saw with her in Roma. And not that I don't think she's capable of making that sort of transition. More so, I'm considering how she will be directed in that movie. because obviously Alfonso Cuarón needs no introduction. He's won many Oscars. He's a very well-respected and celebrated filmmaker, and he knows what he's doing. So he can take somebody like her, first-time actor, and create something amazing with her. And I just hope that with the director of this upcoming film, that they'll have a similar kind of magic to it, where she could really bring that same kind of heart and soul to this movie, even though it is a horror genre film, or however it's going to turn out. It sounds like straight up Cabin in the Woods stuff, so who knows what it's going to look like. Yeah. So who knows?
No, I'm intrigued for sure. I hope it turns out very, very good and everything. And a film that I also hope turns out good, that's also horror related, A Quiet Place Part 2. Quiet Place, the first one,
yes,
was a big surprise for me. I was not anticipating that film being as good as it was. I didn't even think it sounded cool, and I love Emily Blunt. I like John Krasinski. And seeing him direct something like this. This was his third film. I had never seen him direct anything before, so I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch Jim Halpert direct a horror movie. But you know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he's Jim Halpert. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And then I saw the movie, and I was absolutely blown away by it. It was one of the best films that year. I was shocked by how much tension there was in the film. I thought it was really intense from start to finish. I thought it was beautifully acted. I thought it was wonderfully directed. The screenplay was great. Visually, it was really great. It looks gorgeous. It was shot beautifully. Shot on film. I like the grainy aesthetic to it. I appreciate that very much. See, now I sound like a cinema snob, but that's okay. I'll let that slide. But you know, the idea of a sequel has always intrigued me. And then that first trailer came out over a year ago at this point, because this movie was supposed to come out, I think, this week a year ago. March 20th, 2020. Really? I believe that's when it was supposed to come out. And COVID had started literally the week before this movie was supposed to come out. And then the movie got pushed back a few times. And originally it was supposed to come out on September 17th of this year. But then John Krasinski, out of nowhere, announces, we've waited long enough. Quiet Place Part 2, Memorial Day 2021. So now this film will be coming out on May 28th, 2021. And I'm going to be real honest, I don't see this getting pushed back at all. I personally hope that this doesn't get pushed back. I think now with the current state of movie theaters right now, when John Krasinski had broke the news, they had just announced that New York City movie theaters can reopen. And obviously New York City and LA are the two biggest markets for movie theaters in our country. So that was a sign for these blockbusters to come out. And, you know, I'm excited that this movie's coming out. I'm really excited to see it. I thought that trailer was really impressive, and I'm sure we're going to get another trailer within the coming weeks for this film. I'm very excited to see this. I've been wanting to see this since it was announced, and I cannot wait to see how it plays out. You know, John Krasinski's, he's in it in some capacity, but he's behind the camera again directing this. And after showing his directing chops with the first Quiet Place, I cannot wait to see what he brings to this. But I just think it's really an exciting thing that this movie gets to open up 4 months before it was supposed to come out. I think it's a good thing. This is a sign that movie theaters are going to be back to normal hopefully soon. Maybe not completely normal, but this is a sign for the movie industry that, you know, movies might not have to keep getting pushed back or delayed or dropped on streaming services or whatnot. So I cannot wait to be at the theater Memorial Day weekend watching A Quiet Place Part 2. If I have to wear my mask, it is what it is. Hopefully at that point we're not going to have to wear a mask anymore. I'm sure that there are going to be people that go out and still wear masks, because obviously it's not required that you don't wear a mask. But, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm very happy about this. I cannot wait to see this. So, Gabe, your brief thoughts on A Quiet Place, your anticipation for A Quiet Place Part 2, and what do you think about this whole situation where the movie's coming out months before it was originally supposed to come out?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real meat there, is the opportunity that we get to see this so much sooner after waiting so long to see it. It feels like so long ago that we saw that first trailer.
Yeah.
And it really does look very promising. And they created a very interesting world in the first film that I'm glad they're able to explore further. I'm glad we're going to be able to see more of that story moving along. I'm excited to see Cillian Murphy as an addition into.
Oh my God! Yeah, he's such a good actor. I'm so excited.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think he's a great addition to it. I'm excited to see what that part of the world is going to introduce to things. In my first contrarian opinion of the podcast, I wasn't a huge fan of the first one, but I'm still very ready to give the second one a chance. I think in terms of directorial debuts, it's something that we're going to be talking about a lot, obviously, and already have. And I think John Krasinski, in terms of this wasn't a debut for him, but in the eyes of so many people, yourself, as you mentioned, included, it felt like a massive change and debut for him to go into this kind of territory. And I feel as though with any filmmaker, when they get the opportunity to play with a budget like this, it's basically like starting from square one again, but you get all the toys in the playground instead of just one. So you definitely can see a lot of the promise that he has in the first film. I certainly had issues with it here and there, but I would have to say that Krasinski and Emily Blunt, for that matter, were high points. And I'm excited to see her carry this next film too. I have no doubts in my mind that we'll be in good hands with her and Cillian Murphy as well. So I'm definitely excited to see where things progress here. And then, frankly, I'm just excited to see some blockbusters sooner in the theaters again.
Yeah.
It feels like way too long. It's like forever. So it's just going to be nice to get back in there.
Definitely. And our last news story, involves a blockbuster and people going back to the theater because they re-released Avatar in China a while back. And everyone knows that for 10 years, or almost 10 years, Avatar held the record for being the highest grossing film of all time. So at that point, for over 20 years, James Cameron had directed a film that was labeled the highest grossing film of all time. And then Avengers Endgame came out and managed to take that spot. And for just close to 2 years, that film held the top spot. And now it's back at number 2 because Avatar is now the highest grossing film of all time again. Whoop-de-friggin' do. This is insane. I know this isn't like a super big deal or anything.
Unreal.
Honestly, it is unreal. I thought at some point this was probably going to happen again. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, when movie theaters reopen, I wouldn't be surprised if James Cameron decides to stroke his ego and be like, let's re-release Avatar so that I could have the title for the highest grossing film of all time again. Even though it's a Disney film technically now, and Avengers Endgame is also a Disney film, so it's like, Disney, what are you doing? Why are you allowing this to happen?
Going in the same pockets. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Oh, man. But, yeah, it's a crazy thing. I mean, listen, Avatar, you can say what you want about the film. We're not going to get in depth about how we feel about the movie. But it's crazy to think that now this is the highest grossing film of all time again. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney's like, let's release Endgame. Highest grossing film of all time again. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. It's crazy that now this film regained that spot. But hey, what can you do? It's something. It's a crazy thing.
It's James Cameron. It's his innate pettiness and his and as you said, the ego that has been elevated to a higher level than I think I've ever seen a filmmaker's ego. And I can't say he doesn't deserve it. I mean, the films that he's come out with, the resume he has is frankly unbelievable. I mean,
it is.
He is responsible for so many memorable film moments that has, in a purely economic standpoint, has touched more people than almost any other film ever.
Definitely. So, and it's crazy that 2 of his films are 2 of the highest grossing films ever. I mean, there was a period where the highest grossing films were just Titanic and Avatar. Like, that's insane that for, like, 10 years, the two highest grossing films ever made were directed by the same person. I mean, how often does that happen? Like, that's insane. Like, literally that's crazy that would happen. But, I mean, you know, it makes me sad that James Cameron never made a non-Avatar movie after Avatar. You know, he's making those sequels right now, and I mean, I feel like at this point it's a joke saying, like, oh, the sequels never come out. He shot the first two sequels, I believe, back-to-back already, and they're already done being shot. So I'm excited to see it whenever it comes out, but it's crazy to think that's been... I think it's scheduled to come out in 2022, the first Avatar sequel. So, and that's like 13 years since the first one came out. Like, I remember when that I remember when that first film came out and like how big of a deal it was. And I was 11 at the time, I believe. Yeah, I was in 6th grade, I remember, and I went to go see Avatar with my mom in theaters. And I remember it being like an event. But then as I got older, I'm like, the film is okay. It looks great. I'm waiting for a 4K release for it though. I would love a 4K release, and I'm sure it would look incredible. Same with Titanic. Where's the 4K release of that? Release the 4K of Titanic. Hashtag release the Snyder Cut. Hashtag release the Titanic 4K.
Spread it around. Anything will work as a hashtag now. It's evidence.
Listen, if Leonardo DiCaprio gets on Twitter being like, hashtag release the Titanic 4K, then that means you release the Titanic 4K.
Yeah, who's going to say no to him?
Exactly.
No one's gonna say no.
The star...
Just like how Disney couldn't say no to James Cameron re-releasing Avatar in China.
Exactly. Crazy stuff. But now we're going to go into our main topic for the episode, which is a crazy topic. It's time to talk about these Oscar nominations. Craziness. Oh my God. The craziness that ensued this past Monday morning when I woke up at 8 in the morning, got ready to watch these Oscar nominations, and I was watching them, and I'm like, okay. I already knew this was happening. A lot of surprises, definitely, for sure. Were there snubs? Of course there was. I mean, it's not the Oscars without snubbing at least one person or one film or one thingamabob. So, yeah. So we're gonna go through some of these nominations. But before we get into some of these nominations, without saying anything about the specific nominees, overall, were you surprised by any of these nominees? Were there any that caught you off guard? Without saying them, were there any that caught you off guard? Or were there any that took you by surprise? Or were you just like, yeah, this is what I expected?
You know, I gotta say, I watched the live stream as well while getting ready for work, and frankly, for the most part, I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of the decisions made. I was surprised by mostly the omissions in some categories. It felt like there was a breadth of things to be nominated, and that's a testament to the stuff that did come out in 2020, considering the drought that it basically was in a lot of ways. There was still so much quality that came out of it, and a lot of these nominations, I think, did a great job of kind of encompassing the good stuff that we did get and the good things that there are to see from 2020. I was frankly surprised more than anything. There's certainly some things that I was surprised were not included as opposed to other things, but for the most part, I feel pretty satisfied with what we got here, actually.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised with a lot of the stuff, too. But at the same time, I wasn't surprised. And there were some things where I'm like, well, I was kind of expecting that to be nominated. Even though I kind of knew low-key that it wasn't going to get nominated. But, hey, you know, I mean, you can't nominate everything. But there are definitely some nominations that should have happened. And we'll definitely touch upon those when we talk about these individual categories. Yes. So the first category that I wanted to start off with today is Best Documentary Feature. We have Collective, Crip Camp, The Mole Agent, My Octopus Teacher, and Time. Now, unfortunately, I've only seen one of these so far. Now, keep in mind, like, I'm going to try to catch up with all of these movies before the actual ceremony. There's a whole month until the ceremony, so I have plenty of time to watch. I'm not going to watch everything that's nominated, but I'm going to try to get around to watching most of the stuff that got nominated. Time is fantastic. As I hinted at earlier, it's a really compelling documentary that I kind of wish was longer. I would have loved to have seen more stuff from it, but I think that this is what has the chance of winning. I do want to see all the other documentaries here. Collective, I've heard very interesting things about. Same with Crip Camp. I haven't really looked into the other two, Mole Agent and My Octopus Teacher, so I don't really know much about the two. But Time, I mean, if you guys haven't watched it, it's on Prime. Please check it out. It's so good.
Yeah, I have to say that documentaries are not my realm of expertise, but I've heard amazing things about Time, and I've also heard very good things about Collective and Crip Camp as well. In terms of My Octopus Teacher, at the very least, I don't know anything about Mole Agent, but in regards to My Octopus Teacher, from what I have gathered, what I have learned over the course of my podcast listening and things like that, from people that are much more learned than I am, it was basically a feel-good, sort of about-nothing documentary about a guy and his octopus. And you know what? That's lovely. That's fine. I mean,
that sounds adorable.
To Pippa and James and Craig for getting nominated for that. It doesn't sound like the kind of thing that really, considering the other documentary features that came out last year, like Boy State, for example, that were not in this list. Interesting choice, to say the least.
Yeah, I was surprised that one didn't. I was surprised that one didn't make the cut. I haven't seen it myself, but I heard incredible things about Boy State. I was shocked that it didn't make the list.
Good.
And then Dick Johnson Is Dead. Everyone was praising. I haven't seen that one either. So,
heard great things about that as well.
It's great. It's crazy. The documentaries, I'm not a big expert on them either. I do like documentaries. I like watching them every so often, but I have to be in the right mood to watch a documentary. Like, I can't just put it on randomly out the blue like I could with a narrative, but documentaries are great. And when they're great, they're great. And, yeah, I hope to check out all the other ones nominated, but I feel like Time might have it in the bag. But with animated feature... Onward, Over the Moon, a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. I've only seen 3 of these so far. I haven't seen Shaun the Sheep, Farmageddon. I haven't gotten around to watch it. I was a big fan of the first Shaun the Sheep. Blew me away. I was very surprised by it, but I haven't seen the sequel. And then Over the Moon, I haven't gotten around to watching yet. But Onward, Soul, and Wolfwalkers I've seen. Onward was okay. It was fine. Not awful. Not great. I loved Soul.
Very run-of-the-mill.
Very run-of-the-mill Pixar. I loved Soul, and I loved Wolfwalkers. Wolfwalkers is incredible, and I really urge everybody to please sit down and watch that. Unfortunately, it's on one of the few streaming services that isn't popular. It's on Apple TV Plus, and honestly, I will tell you right now, just sign up for the free month just so you can watch Wolfwalkers, because Wolfwalkers, holy shit, it's so good. It's like old school Disney mixed with Studio Ghibli, but it's its own thing at the same time, and it's really, really amazing. And Soul, I thought, was great too. I loved Soul, so I feel like Soul's going to take this award home, but you know what? I'm happy that Wolfwalkers is here. I'm sure there's plenty of other animations that deserve to be here, but these 5 nominations, they're kind of expected for the Oscars. But yeah, very interesting lineup for sure. Super interesting.
Yeah, I totally forgot that Shaun the Sheep movie had come out at all.
Same, so I forgot about that too. I think it came out like super early in the year, like literally before COVID happened. But also, it's like I don't remember it being marketed at all.
Right, yeah, especially on Netflix, where I feel like everything gets such a push.
Yeah.
In comparison, I think Wolfwalkers has really garnered a fantastic reputation, and deservingly so. It's a gorgeous movie. I'm very excited to see it here. I agree with you. Soul is taking this thing. It's not even close. But I'm pretty happy about that too, because Soul is such a unique and bizarre film that really captures so many amazing things that make Pixar so ridiculously good most of the time. Besides Onward.
Yeah. Onward was just, it exists. it's there, and it's like
It's fine.
It's fine. Like that was one of the last movies I saw in theaters before COVID started. I think it was like the second to last movie I saw in theaters before theaters got shut down and everything. But yeah, this is Soul's award. Nothing's gonna beat Soul, and if anything does beat Soul, I would hope it's Wolfwalkers, because that's the only worthy competitor to Soul, in my opinion. I mean, granted, I'm sure Shaun the Sheep Farm Again is great. I'm sure that's very good. I haven't seen Over the Moon. I've heard mixed things about Over the Moon. It looks cool, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't gone around to watching it, but I'm sure it's deserving of being here. And then we get to, where is it? Ooh, Best International Feature Film. Now, unfortunately, I've only seen one of these movies, and the one that I've seen, it's definitely gonna win. The one that I saw, it's listen, it has to win. I mean, listen, no disrespect to the other nominees. So we have Another Round, Better Days, Collective, The Man Who Sold His Skin, and oh my god, I can't pronounce this. Quo Vadis Aida. Yeah. This is Another Round's award. I don't see anything else being this. If anything, maybe Collective, since it's also nominated for Best Documentary. But I feel like Another Round has this in the bag. And this isn't the only thing Another Round is nominated for. But yeah, Another Round, number 5 of 2020 for me. It was in my top 5. It was absolutely fantastic. Mads Mikkelsen, phenomenal performance, and that ending was my favorite ending of a film in 2020. So delightful and so fun. And you know, some people may be like, this feels out of place. Honestly, though, it works for what they were going for. Not going to spoil it in case you guys haven't seen the movie, but a really great ending to a really great film. So yeah, Another Round has this. This has to be Another Round's win, because I have no idea what would win if Another Round doesn't.
Right. I think just by even if we were just going off of name value alone, the fact that Mads Mikkelsen has a movie in the international feature film category basically puts this one in the bag. Besides that, Another Round was my favorite movie of this past year, and
God, it was so good.
It's ridiculous. I watched it again recently for the second time, and it only reaffirmed my love for this movie and Mads Mikkelsen and Thomas Vinterberg. They did an amazing job with this film from beginning to end. It really checked all the boxes for me. So I'm very excited to see this get that win, and, you know, just cutting ahead for 2 seconds, very glad that Thomas Vinterberg himself has been recognized as well for being such a well-accomplished director in his own right, too.
Yeah, I have to see more of his stuff. This is actually the only thing I've seen. I haven't seen The Hunt, their previous collaboration. I've really wanted to watch that for a long time, and I've heard incredible things about it. And I know it was nominated for, at the time it was called Foreign Film. I know it was nominated for that when that came out. But yeah, I'm really happy for Another Round. It really was an excellent film. For it to be really funny, but also really depressing, says a lot. I think that was really, really fascinating how it was able to balance these genres so seamlessly. Because when a movie does that, it's hard to accomplish, and this movie pulled it off very, very well. And yeah, I laughed a lot during the movie, but I also cried. I got very emotional during the last act of the movie when things really escalate for these characters. And not going to spoil anything, of course. But, oh my gosh, just wow. But yeah, Another Round, if you guys haven't watched it, it actually just dropped on Hulu a few days ago, and you must check it out. It is phenomenal, it's incredible. It's so good. So good.
Essential viewing for 2020.
Definitely. It's something that you must watch. Just please check it out. Best cinematography. We have Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, News of the World, Nomadland, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. First of all, I want to say this right now. I don't understand why The Trial of the Chicago 7 is nominated here. I liked the movie. I thought it was good and everything, but the cinematography for that was honestly kind of flat. it didn't really look that great. And, there were so many other films that are more deserving of a cinematography nod than The Trial at the Chicago 7. Honestly, like, Minari, like, come on. Even a film like Tenet, I think, should have been in here, because Tenet looked great. It looked incredible. I mean, all of his movies look great, Nolan's films, but, I mean, these are all pretty good nominated. Judas and the Black Messiah was a very nicely shot film. Mank was gorgeous looking. Say what you want about Mank, but it looked beautiful. Nomadland was one of the prettiest things I've seen in a very long time. And News of the World, which I saw in theaters, and it was an alright movie. It was fine. Tom Hanks was doing his thing, being Tom Hanks, and it was nice. It was much needed for the crappy year that we had, but that also looked really great. The imagery for that was really gorgeous. I was surprised that film didn't get more nominations, because I thought that was like such an Oscar movie. I was anticipating it getting a lot more nominations, but it got a fair amount in the technical categories, which is great. But yeah, I think that if anything takes this home, I believe it's going to be either Mank or Nomadland. I'm not sure which one the Academy's going to go for, but I think it's going to be one of those two. All these four are deserving, but Trial of the Chicago 7, nah.
Yeah, I don't think that one's much of a front runner. I agree with you. I think it's going to be down to Mank and Nomadland, and it's hard to decide between those two. I think the most overt use of cinematography is probably going to win here, though. I think Mank's going to take it, especially if we're taking into account how Mank is going to be received in every other category. It's annoying to think about it like this, but I don't think Mank is really going to win anything else. So
no, I think it's going to be like The Irishman this year, where it's nominated for all these Oscars, but then doesn't go home with anything.
Yeah, I think the best chance it's going to get is probably here in cinematography, just because of how obviously inspired it was, and how much attention was obviously brought into the way that everything was visually designed. So I think it's the best chance it has, frankly.
I agree.
And I loved Mank, but it's not the year.
I liked Mank. It wasn't. I didn't love it like I wanted to. There were things about it that I adored. I thought on a technical level the film was a 10 out of 10. Like the cinematography, the editing, the score. The score, I think, might have a chance. I think if cinematography doesn't take home, I think maybe score. But honestly, Trent and Atticus are going to walk home with an Oscar anyway, because they're nominated for both Mank and Soul. So it's going to be one of the two that wins. So they're going to go home with something.
Definitely.
And, I mean, I don't know which score I would want to win. I mean, we could talk about best score. But, Mank's cinematography was beautiful, and I would be totally fine if Mank walked home with it. I know some people may be like, but that's such a blah pick. I mean, yeah, it's not the best pick, but honestly, it's not the worst pick either. So, I'm not going to complain if Mank walks home with best cinematography. And you know what? Yeah, sure. We'll talk about best score. Why not? All right, best score. We have The Five Bloods, Mank, Minari, News of the World, and Soul. Now, this is so sad that this is the only nomination The Five Bloods got. This is so sad, because that film is deserving of more nominations, and we'll definitely touch upon one particular nomination later on in this episode. But Mank's score, fantastic. Minari's score, fantastic. News of the World score, it was a score, and I didn't really pay attention to the music, but I do remember it being quite good. And James Newton Howard, he's great. But yeah, Mank or Soul, I don't know which one's gonna win. I have no idea. It's gonna be one of these two.
Yeah, I think considering how overtly Soul uses music, I would say that's probably the easiest pick. I could see Mank taking it also, just given the period piece nature of it, and similar thing to the cinematography is just taking into account how much they wanted to basically lift the sound of that time and bring it down into contemporary time. I think they did a great job with that too. It's definitely be deserving of that as well. I just think Soul is probably going to take it because it's so music centric, all that stuff. And also, Yeah, and also they had won it for the Golden Globes too, and usually it's not really that predictive, but I'd say considering it's one of the only really widely recognized award show, that's probably an indicator. Not to say that all these awards are going to come out that way, because they definitely won't. But I think this one's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's going to be either Mank or Soul. It's one of the two. If either of those don't win, I will be rooting for Minari to take home best score. That's going to be the one I would root for if Mank or Soul doesn't take it home. So, best adapted screenplay. This was a very interesting category. We have Borat's subsequent movie film, which has like a total of 9 nominees in it, and when Priyanka Chopra literally read every name, I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Why are you reading all of them?
Endless. Yeah,
I was like, we're going to be here forever. And I wasn't even wide awake yet. My coffee didn't kick in yet. And I'm like, I'm not, stop talking. Also
amazing how much energy they had.
Oh my God,
amazing.
Yeah. Well, apparently for them, they were coming from London, so I think it was like 2 o'clock for them. So I'm like, oh, it's not even early for them, so they're fine. But it was early for us. It was early for us United States folk. So Also nominated, we have The Father, Nomadland, One Night in Miami, and ironically, the Priyanka Chopra starring film, The White Tiger. Now, The White Tiger is the only film in this category I haven't seen. I haven't gotten around to watching it yet, so I will definitely be checking that out within the next month for sure. The rest of these nominees, Borat being here, I was not anticipating that, but at the same time, the first Borat got nominated for screenplay, which is interesting because this movie is heavily improvised, so I was very surprised that it got a nomination here, but I think I didn't love the second Borat. I thought it was entertaining. I had a good time watching it with my friends and everything, but I didn't really walk out of it thinking it was this comedy masterpiece. And this is obviously not the only thing it's nominated for here, and there's definitely more discussion later on, but I, for one, am intrigued that got nominated. The Father I loved. I loved The Father. The screenplay for it was incredible. One Night in Miami, Kemp Powers, One Night in Miami, I would say, was one of the best screenplays of last year. I would say that was a phenomenal screenplay, and I'm a sucker for any movies that feel like plays, and this was obviously based on a play and very dialogue heavy, and I loved it. Kemp Powers had a great 2020 because he was a co-director and a screenwriter for Soul, so that was a great year for him overall. And then obviously I can't comment on The White Tiger, but my personal pick for what I want to win and what I think is going to win, I think Nomadland is going to take this home. I don't see anything else really beating this. If anything does beat this, I would say I'm going to root for The Father.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nomadland. This is Nomadland's award. Chloe Zhao, give her all the awards.
Yeah, this is a really interesting category. Definitely one of the most diverse categories that we've got here. I don't see Borat winning this by a country mile at all, but it's cool to see that get put there. I really enjoyed that movie for some reason. Father, unbelievably good. Unbelievably good.
So good.
Watched it.
I know that when we last talked, you said that you hadn't seen it yet, so I was going to talk to you more about it here. It was incredible. It was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Probably one of the best play adaptation films that I've seen, period. Honestly, it does such an amazing job of narrowing down the space that's used in the film, because obviously, with the play, you get the stage and that's it. With this movie, they use so much of the space in such a unique and creative way.
Kudos to the editor and the production design team. Both the edited and the production design got nominated for The Father, which is great. I'm so happy that those got nominated for that. That got nominated for those awards. I'm so thrilled about that. Yeah, we can talk more about The Father definitely when we get to other awards. This won't be the last time we talk about The Father. But yeah, I mean continue. What you were saying, you brought up The Father, and what about we haven't talked about Nomadland yet, so what did you think of Nomadland?
That's true. I think Nomadland is a beautiful film, both in visual and sentimental value. The thing that gets me about Nomadland, and particularly in this category as well, is it relies very much on the personal and specific stories of the people that they found to put in the movie. Uh, there's such an emphasis on those people to really carry the story along. And of course, Frances McDormand's fantastic. Of course, that goes without saying. You know, she's very reliable in that way, but she is very much a bystander to these people. You know, she is our vessel to be exploring this world of nomads with her. So to have this be a nominee for Best Adapted Screenplay based off a nonfiction book, if I remember correctly, so I understand that aspect of it, but I think the fact that they went semi-documentary with this film almost,
Yeah.
kind of makes me feel a little iffy about. These were my overall thoughts on the movie too, as a spoiler for later conversations, but it. It was kind of wishy-washy between the two styles like that. I almost hoped that it would have stayed in a documentary side as opposed to the other, but obviously I'm so glad to see it be recognized. Chloe Zhao in particular, I think, is incredibly talented, and she deserves the recognition that she's getting here. I just think it's a little bit weird to put her here, and going off of Nomadland, because we still got two more things that I want to bring up real quick. One Night in Miami, really good. Ken Powers, I think, has really narrowed down his play to such a T here, and of course, very snappy, very, very well written, goes without saying, and that's why I'm kind of worried that it's not going to win, because it's just so standardly good. You know, it's hard for it to really like jump out at you. White Tiger, on the other hand, I've watched recently, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. Very well written, very interesting, a lot of socially charged Indian specific commentary in it, which is why I'm surprised that this. I mean, the Academy Awards have 8,000 people nominating in it, so I can't be too surprised that something that is so particularly ingrained in Indian culture is. But in that sense, it does a really great job of isolating these very particular class issues in India and bringing it to a very understandable way. Similar to how Parasite did it with South Korea's class differences, this movie takes a very different angle to that, but follows a similar idea. And for the most part, I think it's pretty successful in doing that. So, while I'm very surprised that this is here, and I think there might be a little bit of recency bias in there too, I'm not sure, because it's a pretty recent release. I'm glad to see it represented, but I'm hoping The Father wins this one, just put simply. Florian Zeller and Christopher Hampton, who helped bring this to an English context, really did such a ridiculously good job. I mean, it's really unbelievable.
Yeah, The Father would definitely be my second pick if Nomadland weren't here. But I was just so I've seen Nomadland 3 times, which is crazy because that's not really a film that I feel is super rewatchable. I saw it when it premiered virtually for the New York Film Festival, and then when it got its virtual screening release a few months later, and then I watched it when it just got dropped on Hulu about a month ago, and I don't know. I just something about the movie that really clicks with me and speaks to me. I appreciate how laid back and very like relaxing the film is because nothing really intense happens in it. It's just a very calm, relaxing movie. Yeah, it's slow. Yeah, it's not the most engrossing movie ever, but it's just very beautiful and very moving. And I love it very much. But I totally understand your take about how like it goes back and forth from like the narrative feeling to like a documentary. I totally understand that. I would have been okay if they did it like a documentary. I would have been totally fine with that. But I'm happy with the churn out of it for sure. But I totally understand where you're coming from with that. Now going into Best Original Screenplay, a very interesting lineup of films. We have Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Now, right off the bat, I loved all 5 of these movies. Trial of the Chicago 7, I didn't love it. I thought it was good, but I didn't love it. Let me rephrase that. I loved 4 of these 5 movies. Judas and the Black Messiah was incredible. The screenplay was very sharp and very interesting. It's crazy to think that these Lucas brothers, who are primarily comedians, are nominated for an Oscar. They wrote the story for the script, and I'm like, that's so cool that these comedians got nominated for an Oscar. I love that very, very much. Yeah, I'm happy that that's here. Minari, phenomenal. Just Lee Isaac Chung, incredible. I love it very much. Sound of Metal. You know, you look at the image of Riz Ahmed playing drums, and you're like, this might be like a Whiplash type of movie. This is going to be exciting. No, it's one of the most depressing things you could ever watch. That picture misleads you, and that's a good thing. I went to the movie not knowing anything, so I didn't know the basic premise of this movie. So I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna go cry now. Yeah, Trial of Chicago 7. I mean, listen, I love Sorkin. I love the guy very much. He's a very good writer. But Trial of Chicago 7. Yeah. But Promising Young Woman was my personal favorite of these nominees. I know that film is very divisive upon everybody. I know that there are a lot of people walking out of it being like, this is a great film, this is an M-word. And then there are people saying this is a piece of shit. I hate it. I just want to burn it to the ground and just never talk about it again. I totally understand where people are coming from with this. I get it. I totally get it. So my personal pick for what I want to win is Promising Young Woman. But what I think is gonna take this, I don't know what they're gonna do, but I feel like they're gonna go with a safe choice. I think it's going to be Trial of Chicago 7. I think this is what's going to be taking home the award. I think also since Sorkin wasn't nominated for Best Director, I feel like this is their way of saying, here you go, we're not going to give your film Best Picture, and you better not. Here you go, here's your Oscar for the night. Yeah, that's my input on it. I mean, again, I loved Sound of Metal, I loved Minari, and Judas and the Black Messiah was great. But I feel like they're going to give it to Trial of Chicago 7 to be safe. I feel like when it comes to the original screenplays, they're always so safe with what they give it. I mean, last year they gave it to Parasite, and that was not a safe choice at all. That was a great choice. The previous year they gave it to Green Book, which I actually liked Green Book, but I get why people don't like it. I'm not going to... Listen, if you don't like it, fine, but just don't hurt me, please. But yeah, I feel like Trial of Chicago 7 is going to be taking this.
Yeah, I have a gut feeling in that as well, and frankly I don't think it's a bad choice. Aaron Sorkin is a writer first and foremost, and I think if there was anything for him to win here, it would definitely be in his writing. It's where he shines the best. There are obviously more daring, interesting pictures that deserve it, including but not limited to the things nominated here, and something like The Five Bloods. Just putting stuff like that out there in the air in the world. Five
Bloods, Soul. I thought Soul should have been nominated for screenplay. I mean, there's so many. Palm Springs. I was hoping that maybe Palm Springs would slide in there because I know every so often they nominate comedies. I mean, listen, if you could nominate Borat, you should have nominated Palm Springs. Like, come on, come on, Academy.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely in a weird space because. We have things like Trial of Chicago 7 that seem very industrial and very straightforward for what Oscar is like. And then you get something like Promising Young Woman, which is incredibly divisive but also has a lot of talk behind it, a lot of hype. And it carries a lot of conversations that are continuing a lot throughout these months leading up to the Oscars, which makes a big difference for sure. And then you get something like Sound of Metal, which premiered 2 years ago and is an independent film that got picked up after a year of not really going anywhere on Amazon. It's so unreal to me to see how much Sound of Metal has gotten, well deservingly so, I just think it's so bizarre that the Oscars have picked up on it so hard, and I think it's a testament to a lot of the work that Riz Ahmed has done to get the word out on the movie. And then he deserves all the credit in the world for that film as well. He really does an amazing job carrying that narrative, and we'll get more into some other performances later with the film, but it really is a marvel to see how it's come here, and where it sits now in Oscar history. Would never have expected it.
No, Sound of Metal, I feel, was the biggest surprise. It was like the sleeper of the Oscars, where it just kept getting all these nominations, and I'm like, I was not anticipating this at all. I knew that Riz Ahmed was going to get nominated. I knew that was going to be a thing, but all the other nominations it got, I was very surprised. Very surprised, but I'm so glad it got nominated, because it was in my top 10 of the year. I absolutely loved Sound of Metal, and this original screenplay category is a very interesting lineup. Like you said, Promising Young Woman is so divisive, but it's also a very bold film, and it has a lot of things to say. It's very intense. Then you have something very subtle like a Minari. You have something very, I wouldn't say it's epic, but something like a Judas and the Black Messiah. Then you have something very timely. It's a timely film, like Trial of Chicago 7 is also timely. Then you have something that's super, like, I can't even think of the word, like super depressing and super raw, like A Sound of Metal. It's just insane. It's insane to believe. And the Five Bloods should have been here. Palm Springs, I thought, should have been nominated. Soul, I thought, should have gotten nominated. I'm really trying to think of what else I would have liked here. It's tough to think about on the top of my head, but Mank not being here caught me off guard, because I was for sure that was going to get an original screenplay nomination. And I saw someone online saying, well, the writer of the film is dead. And I'm like, that does not matter at all. That doesn't matter.
Frankly, that should be even more of a reason for it to be there.
Yeah.
You feel...
I was surprised, and Mank's screenplay wouldn't have been my pick, but I was expecting it to be here, because it got nominated for everything else except for Best Screenplay. And you would think that, like, it's a movie about the guy who wrote the screenplay for Citizen Kane, which won the Best Screenplay Oscar, and you don't even nominate the script for the movie about the guy who wrote Citizen Kane. What's up with that?
It feels like such a writing heavy movie too. You'd think that would be just a no-brainer, but I guess we got Trial of Chicago 7 instead. Yeah, I guess a very subpar movie. It's good. I like it, but it's not as good as these other films. Best Supporting Actress. Oh my God! Wow. Maria Bakalova, Borat's subsequent movie film. Glenn Close, Hillbilly Elegy, or Eulogy as I like to call it, even though I still haven't seen it, but I just don't want to. But now, because it got nominated, now I have to see it. The other nominees are Olivia Colman, The Father, Amanda Seyfried, Meg, and Yeon Yoo-jun. Minari, I probably pronounced her name wrong. I'm so sorry. She was incredible in Minari, and I'm so happy that she got in here. Fantastic. So, Olivia Colman in The Father, great performance, very deserving here. Amanda Seyfried, two of the plastics from Mean Girls are Oscar nominees. Rachel McAdams got nominated a few years ago, and Regina George got nominated, and now Karen's nominated. Who would have thought, watching Mean Girls, Sophie from Mamma Mia, the cinematic piece known as Mamma Mia. We've come so far, truly.
No, Amanda Seyfried being here is great. She was probably my favorite thing about Mank. I thought she was so good in Mank. She transformed into Marion Davis, and I honestly didn't think that she was even going to get the nomination, because she got a Golden Globe nomination, but she was kind of getting ignored everywhere else. I'm like, she's probably not even going to get nominated. But then she got nominated, and I was really happy to see her here.
Yeah.
Maria Bakalova, again, I brought up how I wasn't super big with Borat's subsequent movie, but her performance was really great, and this was her first time in a movie ever. And I mean, can you imagine your debut film is the sequel to Borat, and then it gets you a fucking Oscar nomination? I mean, that's awesome. That's so cool. That's a great thing. And the story behind when she found out how she got nominated was really cool. She was filming this movie that she's doing with Judd Apatow. He literally comes in the middle of a take and says, "You just got nominated for an Oscar."
Wow.
Like,
oh my god,
that's awesome. The director comes in. You're like, "Oh, am I doing bad?" No, you just got nominated for an Oscar.
Wow. That must be so surreal. And to think about all the stuff that she had to do in Borat too.
Oh my god.
So daring. Like I'm so happy that she has this opportunity to be recognized for just the dangerous things that she was doing in that movie. It's just really such a unbelievable performance considering the film that it was in.
Yeah. Did you ever think that a film where a woman would be with Rudy Giuliani would get her an Oscar nomination? That's insane.
Or just the kind of makeup that she was in.
Oh
the
my god! Yeah.
And
why wasn't this nominated for best makeup? This should have been nominated for best makeup.
Oh man.
All right, there's a snub. Borat for best makeup. No, it's a great performance for sure. I mean, what is your opinion on this category? Like, what do you brought up Maria, but what's your opinion on the other performances here?
We got ourselves a weird list. Another weird one. I don't know why Glenn Close is here. It kind of worries me because I feel like it could turn into a legacy Oscar.
Oh no!
And they'll take it away from. I don't even want to attempt the woman in Minari's name, but she was amazing, and she would be an amazing surprise pick. But I don't see it happening. Olivia Colman would also be a great choice, and so would Amanda Seyfried. So everybody else is such a great option. So that's why I get worried looking at
it's so sad
this.
Because Glenn Close is a great actress. She's incredible. She's a legend. Yeah. And I haven't seen the movie. Sure. It looks like shit. I haven't seen it yet because it looks awful, and it's sad because I like her. I love Amy Adams, and I like Ron Howard, but Ron Howard hasn't had a hit in forever. It's been a long time, so... Yeah, I agree. I mean, it could be one of those legacy Oscars, but I have no idea. That's the thing. This is the only acting category where I personally have no idea how it's going to play out. I have no idea who's going to win this.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm all for the surprises.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a betting buster for sure.
Oh, definitely.
I could see any of these guys taking it, especially Maria Bakalova, Olivia Colman, or Amanda Seyfried. I feel like the three of them are really the big front runners here if we had to narrow them down. But that being said, I just can't shake the feeling that they could all be snubbed because Glenn Close has never won before. And of all the things that they decided to choose, it's Hillbilly Elegy. Okay. All right, Oscars. Okay.
As Mama. As Mama. Oh my god.
With the W's, yeah. Mama.
Yeah, Mama. Oh my god. The makeup boy. On her was... Ugh. But apparently that's how the real Mama looked.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's accurate. I'm sure that's not the worst thing about the movie.
Yeah. I'm going to have to man up and sit down and watch it before this ceremony. I don't look forward to doing it, but, I mean, maybe I'll drink during it. I don't know. I don't encourage drinking. I'm not the one to encourage it, but, maybe that's what I'm going to have to do. Best Supporting Actor, Sacha Baron Cohen, The Trial of the Chicago 7, Daniel Kaluuya, Judas and the Black Messiah, Leslie Odom Jr., One Night in Miami, Paul Raci, Sound of Metal, and the biggest surprise of them all, Lakeith Stanfield, Judas and the Black Messiah. Now, here is the thing. This is a great category. These are all great performances. I loved all of these.
Mm-hmm.
I loved all of them. Even though I've said here that I'm not in love with the Trials of Chicago 7, I love Sacha Baron Cohen's performance, and it's so cool that he's an Oscar nominee for his acting, because he's been nominated for his writing, but he's never been nominated for acting, and this is great. This is a great nomination. Loved Leslie Odom Jr. in One Night in Miami. 2020 was a great year for him, too. Hamilton came out on Disney Plus, and everyone finally got to see the show, and then this movie came out with all this acclaim, and now he's nominated, and he portrayed the heck out of Sam Cooke. It was a great performance. Not my personal favorite performance in the film. I thought all four of these men were equally incredible, but I'm happy that Leslie got nominated. I'm happy someone from the film got nominated. Paul Raci in Sound of Metal. Fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal performance. I did not think he was going to get nominated. So that was a big surprise. Big surprise for sure. Big surprise. Daniel Kaluuya, obviously not a surprise. He's been sweeping everywhere, and honestly, I think this is his award. I don't see anyone else. A very great performance, truly. He embodied Fred Hampton. He disappeared into the role. It was great. Now, this Lakeith Stanfield thing, let's talk about this for a second. Great performance. Very deserving of the nomination for sure. Did not anticipate this happening. But he's not supporting. He's the lead. So if both he and Kaluuya are nominated here, who's the lead of Judas and the Black Messiah? Is it Jesse Plemons? Is it the car? Is it the thing that is put in the cup of Fred Hampton? Who is the lead of this movie?
There's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
I agree. I think what they decided...
Go ahead.
What they decided to do, I think, here was kind of split things down the middle. Because in the film, Judas the Black Messiah, Daniel Kaluuya brings on this ridiculously electric performance that I think makes him deserving of lead or supporting, either or. And then you have Lakeith Stanfield, who... on an opposite end of the same spectrum of sorts, delivers such a well-rounded, unique, and understated performance. And I think with the two of them, and I don't know how much they have in terms of differentiating screen time or anything like that, but you follow Lakeith through most of it. And since he gives a performance that's not quite as showy as Daniel Kaluuya, I feel like they decided to kind of split the difference here. I think that's really where we ended up. Because it does kind of feel like they both occupy the same amount of space in the movie when everything is said and done, even though you start off with Lakeith at the beginning. And I think the two of them kind of share two different ends of the same coin in that movie. So I think it was a great choice to have them included here, because I don't think Lakeith would have been able to make the cut in lead actor.
No, he wouldn't have. I mean, I know that there was a performance that I would have taken out of lead and replaced him in it, but I'm happy that the guy's finally nominee, because I've been saying for years that he's been one of the best up-and-coming performers we've had these past few years. I mean, everything that he's worked on, I've loved, pretty much, that I've seen him in. Short Term 12, Get Out, Sorry to Bother You, Knives Out, Uncut Gems, and now this. I mean, the guy, he's been crushing it with his catalog. He's an awesome actor, and I haven't watched Atlanta. I know that I really have to hop on the Atlanta train, but no, he's a great actor. He's fantastic, and I'm really happy that he's here. This is the only acting category for me where I loved every performance nominated here, where I flat out loved every performance nominated. So yeah, Kaluuya has it in the bag. I think he's gonna win this. If he doesn't, I have no idea who would take it. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know who would be second to him, and I think he's just such a shoo-in. I'm so glad he is, and I'm so glad they even gave opportunities to somebody like Paul Raci, who does such a great job, and in a similar way to Lakeith, who brings such a heart and uniqueness to his movie that I think would have been sorely missed if it was anybody else. I think it was just like a planets aligning sort of thing in that way.
Yeah.
So that's great to see. They're going to lose to Daniel Kaluuya, but they're all gonna look good doing it. That's for sure.
I think so too. I absolutely agree 100%. Best Actress in a Leading Role: Viola Davis, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom; Andra Day, The United States vs. Billie Holiday; Vanessa Kirby, Pieces of a Woman; Frances McDormand, Nomadland; and Carey Mulligan, Promising Young Woman. Now, Carey Mulligan in Promising Young Woman was my favorite female performance of 2020, as well as my personal favorite performance by an actor in 2020. I adored that performance. I love Carey Mulligan very much. She's an actress that I feel deserves way more recognition than she gets. And this performance was completely out of left field for her. I've never seen her tackle this kind of role before. I've never really seen her do anything that's labeled as funny. I've never seen that kind of side of her before. And I think she crushed it 100%. You brought up Frances McDormand being fantastic in Nomadland. She's always great, and she was great in Nomadland. I loved Vanessa Kirby in Pieces of a Woman. That performance broke my heart. I was actually a big fan of that film. I liked it a lot more than a lot of people did. I know that a lot of people say that after that opening, the film kind of goes down a little bit. I was still engrossed with the movie after that incredible opening, but Vanessa's performance was insanely good, and I'm happy that she's here. Viola Davis, she always finds a way of topping herself every time she's in something. I don't know how she does it. I don't know what she does. This woman, I don't get it. Oh, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom should have been nominated for Adapted Screenplay. Just wanted to say that right now. That should have been nominated for Adapted Screenplay, but that's a whole different discussion. I can't believe I forgot to bring that up. Very happy that she's here. It's great performance. So she brought so much to Ma Rainey. It was great. Now, Andra Day in The United States vs. Billie Holiday. I really did not like The United States vs. Billie Holiday. I kind of hated it. I wasn't a fan of it at all. But Andra Day's performance, fantastic. Really, really great stuff. She's really deserving of this nomination for sure because, you know what? If you nominate a subpar to not good movie and nominate the actor, as someone who hasn't seen Hillbilly Eulogy, I firmly believe that this nomination is more deserving than Glenn Close because Andra Day, legit gave a great performance. A great performance. And it's cool that we get this opportunity where there's two black women nominated in the category. That hasn't happened in years where there's been two black women nominated Best Actress, and they both play musicians, which is very, very interesting. So, my pick for who I want to win, Carey Mulligan's my pick for who's going to win. Now, who I think will win, see, we haven't really had any clarity of who's going to win this award either. At the Golden Globes, Andra Day won. At the Critics' Choice Awards, Carey Mulligan won. The SAGs haven't happened yet. The BAFTAs haven't happened yet. So I have no idea who's going to take home this award. Now, I'm not going to be surprised if Carey takes it home. I'm not going to be surprised if someone like Viola takes it home. I'm not going to be surprised if Frances takes it home. Honestly, a cool thing is if Frances takes this home, and I don't know if this is a given fact, I think she might be the first woman who will win 3 Best Actress Oscars. That would be a first time. Because Daniel Day-Lewis, when he won his 3 Oscars for Best Actor, that was the first time that it ever happened, where an actor won 3 Best Actor Oscars. So I think that if Frances wins, she'll be the first one to win 3 Best Actress Oscars, and that would be awesome because she would be deserving of it. But yeah, I'm rooting for Carey. I think Carey's going to take this home. That's my pick.
Yeah, I think she definitely carries. Oh God, I just realized what I just did. She definitely carries Promising Young Woman in a lot of ways. She is such a powerhouse in that movie, and I'm glad she's being recognized in that way. been a fan of her a long time as well. So it's really great to see her in this position. I honestly think she's the front runner in it right now. I think I don't think nearly as many people are going to be watching United States vs. Billie Holiday, frankly. I don't know. I think the recency bias has helped, especially when it came to the Golden Globes. I haven't seen it, but just judging by what you were saying, that's probably, that's my best assumption with it. Or a lot of bribery on the part of the Hollywood Foreign Press, whichever one came first. So, all that nonsense aside, I could definitely see Karen Mulligan taking this one. I feel pretty firm on that, mostly because the other two, like Viola Davis and Frances McDormand, are very institutional at this point. They're they've had their time, and they're just a piece of Oscar history already. So I could definitely see them bringing it on to the edgier, more unusual performance.
Yeah, and do you have an opinion on Vanessa Kirby, Pieces of a Woman, or have you not seen that movie yet?
Oh, yes, I watched Pieces of a Woman very recently, and I thought she was awesome in that movie. I frankly, I think it's an underrated movie, too.
I think so, too.
In a lot of ways. I'm surprised that not as many people talk about it, maybe because it feels like a very European-American film.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel quite as accessible as these other movies, so maybe that's got something to do with it. I mean, this was the only nomination that Pieces of a Woman has.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not surprised they didn't... I'm not surprised they didn't nominate, like, Shia LaBeouf or something at this point.
Yeah.
But, since it's the only thing that this movie has, it's interesting, and I feel bad totally counting it out, because she really does deserve this nomination.
She does.
And I think she would be deserving of the award, too, frankly, just for that first 30 minutes, let alone the rest of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Where she shows, such a great range of emotions and such a complicated and tough role. So I'm just very glad to see this movie get put somewhere. Especially for Vanessa Kirby as well, who has really captured me since The Crown.
Yeah, I haven't watched The Crown, unfortunately. It's been on my list for a long time, but I've liked her in things that I've seen her in, and this was an exceptional performance. It blew me out of the water. I was such a big fan of this performance. So, yeah, I mean, I hope Carrie wins, but I'm not going to be angry if Frances wins or Viola wins or Vanessa wins. Heck, if Andrew wins, it's a deserving win. It's not my pick, but I would say it's a deserving win. Now, Best Actor. Yeah. Riz Ahmed, Sound of Metal. Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Anthony Hopkins, The Father. Gary Oldman, Mank. And Stephen Yeun, Minari. So, another good lineup. I had brought up that had Lakeith been nominated in lead actor, I personally, and I know you said you love Mank, and I love Gary Oldman. He's a great actor, and he was good in Mank, but if I'm going to be honest, his performance in Mank didn't really scream Oscar nomination worthy for me. And he's a great actor. He's great. I love Gary Oldman very much. He's my dear Sirius Black from Harry Potter. He's my dear Commissioner Gordon from the Dark Knight trilogy. But he's also been in many films that I've loved over the years. But, yeah, I mean, his performance in Mank, it was good, but it wasn't Oscar-worthy in my opinion. Like, Amanda Seyfried's performance I thought was deserving of the nomination. Gary Oldman, on the other hand, but you know what? Not a terrible performance. There's definitely performances that should be here, and I think that we should first talk about these nominees before we get to the obvious performer that was snubbed. And even though I knew it was going to happen, I was kind of hoping that the Oscars would be like, no, we want to nominate this guy, and then they ended up not doing it. But, you know.
Of course not.
Well, life's a lemon. So, Riz Ahmed, Sound of Metal. Incredible. Phenomenal performance. Heartbreaking, truly devastating, beautiful, beautiful work. Stephen Yeun, if you asked me a decade ago, if you told me a decade ago that Glenn from The Walking Dead was going to be an Oscar nominee, I would have said, shut the fuck up. That's not going to happen. And now it's happened. I'm so happy for Stephen Yeun. He has really proven himself as a phenomenal actor. ever since his time on The Walking Dead came to a close, and I've loved him and everything. And his performance in Minari was very subtle, very, very beautiful, and yeah, I loved his work in this. And I was not anticipating him getting nominated, but I'm so happy that he's up for an Oscar nomination. I think it's great.
So great to see.
I love that very much. And again, I think it's kind of cool that this one Walking Dead actor is now an Oscar nominee. I think that's awesome. I think that's great. Lauren Cohen posted something on her Instagram. She played Maggie on The Walking Dead, and she posted something just like really being ecstatic for him because Stephen Yeun, when he had gotten the nomination, he became the first Asian American actor to receive this honor, and that's awesome. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. That's so cool. And I mean, same with Riz Ahmed. When Riz Ahmed got the nomination, he was the first Muslim to be nominated for Best Actor. Like, again, that's incredible. That's an incredible achievement, and one that cannot be tarnished whatsoever. And then we get to Anthony Hopkins, who, oh my God, you forget that you're watching Anthony Hopkins. You feel like you're watching the character of Anthony, who's having this severe battle with dementia, and it broke my heart. The Father kind of hinted at it a little bit, but The Father is honestly one of the most terrifying films I've ever watched in my life. I felt like I was watching an actual person with dementia. What's that?
Yeah. It definitely feels like one of the biggest horror movies of the year, for sure.
It does. It's scarier than any horror movie I've seen in a long time. Yeah, definitely. It's honestly it's just one of the scariest films I've ever watched in my life. The performance, that's who I want to win this Oscar. That's who I want to take this home. But I know that it's going to go to Chadwick. And let me just say this right off the bat. When Chadwick passed away, I was absolutely devastated. I loved the guy very much. I thought he was a phenomenal actor. I wish that he got to have a bigger career, a longer career, because I know a lot of people really didn't pay attention to him until he was cast as Black Panther. I followed his career before he was even cast as Black Panther, when he was playing Jackie Robinson and James Brown. So then when he got cast as Black Panther, I'm like, that's a great choice. And then people were like, oh, I don't know who this Chadwick Boseman guy is. And now everyone knows who Chadwick Boseman is because he played Black Panther. And the impact that he had on a lot of people is really beautiful. And 2020 gave us two incredible performances from him. I thought he was so good in The Five Bloods.
Yeah.
Really great in that for the time that he was on screen. But in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, phenomenal work. And he has so many monologues that just make you go, oh my God. And it was so heartbreaking to watch because you could tell when watching this movie that he was sick. He didn't look good when he was making this movie. He put his heart and soul into this role, and it gave me chills watching him. Every time when he first came on screen, I got goosebumps just watching it. I got chills, and when he was giving all those monologues, when basically, especially the monologue where he's like "fuck God" and "fuck this" and "fuck that," I'm just like, oh my God, dude, you're incredible, and you're not even here anymore, and it's just so devastating. Yeah. This is his award. It's impossible that anyone's going to beat him at this point. Now, someone did ask me recently that if he were still alive, do I think he still would have won the Oscar? And I'm going to say yes, I do think that if he were still here with us, that he would still win this award. I mean, I really don't know. I can't say if he would win the award if he was still here. I have no idea. I really have no clue that if he were still here with us, would he have even gotten nominated? I would think so. I would say so. Yeah. But obviously no one knows what would have happened either if COVID never happened. Who knows? Who knows what would have been the films nominated for Best Picture and everything. But, yeah, this is Chadwick's to win. My personal pick is Anthony Hopkins for who I want to win. But I'm totally fine with Chadwick win because, again, 4 of the 5 actors in this category, I love their performances. And listen, Gary was good in Mank. Not my favorite, not my least favorite performance, but yeah, I mean, what's your take on these nominations and who you think is going to take home this award?
Well, besides the obvious Delroy Lindos,
Oh God.
I basically would be treading the same water that you've been covering, so I'll keep my opinions on it brief. I think Chadwick Boseman would have won it if he was still with us. I think that this is his guaranteed right now. Very much deservedly so. He steals every scene he's in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, brings so much life and energy to that movie. It's very well deserved. At the same time, I would love to see Anthony Hopkins win this, and at the same time, the rest of these guys are so deserving too. Steven Yeun's fantastic in Minari. I loved him so much in that movie, and it's been such a joy following him through his career, going from Walking Dead to Burning to this. It's been an amazing journey, and Riz Ahmed too, finding his way from supporting cast member on Nightcrawler to this, to getting this big opportunity. And really, the sky's the limit for these guys, and I imagine it would have been the same thing for Chadwick. So I'm glad that these younger guys are getting this chance to really dominate this space. I would love to see the old man win it. Not talking about Gary Oldman, but I'm talking about Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think this is Chadwick's thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool that the three of the 5 actors here are first-time nominees. I think it's really cool when the Oscars, whenever they do the any of the acting categories or the directing category, that they nominate most first-timers. I think that's really exciting, and that's the case with the Best Director category, because 4 of the 5 nominees for Best Director are first-time nominees in that category, so that's really, really exciting. So for Best Director, we have Lee Isaac Chung, Minari, Emerald Fennell, Promising Young Woman, David Fincher, Mank, Thomas Vinterberg, Another Round, and Chloe Zhao, Nomadland. 2 women here, incredible. We have 2 Asians nominated. I love that so much, and this category is great. Very stacked with great choices. Even though, again, I didn't love Mank, I'm happy that Fincher is here because that movie was very well directed. Not the best directed David Fincher movie, but I'm happy that he's up here nominated. It's sad that the guy never won an Oscar, and he's probably not going to win for this. And to be honest, if he did win for this, I don't really think I would be happy about it because he should have won a decade ago for The Social Network. But, I mean, that's a whole different discussion for another time. But to talk about the other nominees, Emerald Fennell, incredible. Thomas Vinterberg, Another Round, biggest surprise of this for sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that he's here. Lee Isaac Chung, great. Just incredible.
Such a great choice.
It's so good. And Chloe Zhao, too. I'm very happy that she's here.
Yeah.
I am going to say that this is tough. I think Chloe Zhao has this in the bag. I think that she's going to be walking home with the Best Director Oscar, which is great because she would be the second woman to win the award. The last time a woman won was when Catherine Bigelow won over a decade ago for The Hurt Locker. And this would just be an awesome achievement. And honestly, it's a very deserving achievement, too, because Chloe Zhao directed the heck out of Nomadland. It was a beautifully directed film, and one could say, like, oh, it wasn't the best film or anything. That's totally fine, but her direction in it was phenomenal, and it gets me so excited to see what she's going to do with the Eternals. I'm so hyped to see what she brings to that, her stamp on a Marvel movie, and it would be really cool, too, because I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't be surprised if she does win Best Director. Marvel's going to be like, from Academy Award winning filmmaker Chloe Zhao. She would be the first. She would be the first one to direct a Marvel movie, the first Oscar winning filmmaker to direct a Marvel movie. So that's so exciting. I love that very much. Yeah, that's my personal pick on the Best Director category. Overall, this is a very good category. I mean, there's plenty of directors here that could have been nominated. I was very surprised that Aaron Sorkin didn't get nominated. Again, not my personal pick, but I was I believed that he was going to get nominated. The DGAs nominated 4 of these 5 filmmakers, and the only one that didn't get nominated for the DGA was Thomas Vinterberg. So that's cool that he's in here, because Another Round was really well directed. And yeah, so that's my personal opinion on that. So what about you? What's your take on this category?
My personal pick, as much as I have obviously gone nuts about Thomas Vinterberg and Another Round here, I honestly think that it would be amazing to see Lee Isaac Chung win this category.
It would.
It's such a beautiful and deeply personal film that he's made here. I think he's got such a great vision in that movie that comes off so clearly and precisely. I think a similar thing can be said for Chloe Zhao with Nomadland too, and that's why I'm pretty sure she's going to win it by a landslide. But I think this is just a really well accomplished category. There's so many, you really can't go wrong with any of the guys on this one, and ladies for that matter. I mean, everyone had brings something so unique and so different in so many different ways of film with these directors. It really brings a whole bunch of worlds together in this category. It's why I love this selection so much, and how I don't mind that they omitted Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any filmmakers you would have liked to have seen in this category?
I mean, I would have loved to have seen Spike Lee in here. You know, I don't think that I would have replaced him with anybody. Maybe have just put him along with everybody else. It's just so hard because, you know, there's only so many people that you can nominate for a particular category, and, you know, people are bound to get brought out. But yeah, the Five Bloods got taken out of everything. So
yeah, I mean, it only got nominated for Best Score. That's literally the only thing it got nominated for,
which is just a straight middle finger.
It's so sad. It's so sad. And for me, personally, I would have liked Regina King to be in here. I was really hoping that she was going to be in here.
Surprising that she wasn't, actually.
I was surprised too, and it would have been awesome if she was, because that would have been 3 women nominated, and I think she would have been the first black woman to be nominated for Best Director. So that would have been really cool too. And for a directorial debut, it's very rare for anyone to get nominated for their directorial debut, especially when it's an actor directing their debut, because Bradley Cooper, everyone thought he was going to get nominated for Star is Born, but then he didn't even end up getting nominated, which is really disappointing. But yeah, Chloe Zhao, I think she's going to take this. But yeah, I mean, like you said, these are all really good choices. And now, Best Picture. The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. So, I like all these films. Mank is my least favorite. Not Sound of Metal. Trial of Chicago 7 is my second least favorite, but then everything else I flat out love. I love everything else here. Again, Promising Young Woman's my favorite that's nominated here, but I know for a fact that it's not going to win. And if it does win, that would be that would be a big, oh man, people would be either proud or people would be pissed. It would be
flipping their chairs.
Oh my god! Like, are you kidding me? Blah, blah, blah.
One or the other.
One or the other, definitely. So I'm gonna say that Nomadland's gonna take this home. I think this is Nomadland's award. My thing is, with this category, you can nominate up to 10 films, and they nominated 8. You easily could have nominated 2 more films. You could have nominated Another Round, since you nominated the director of the film, and then you have that 10th spot. I thought Ma Rainey and One Night in Miami were shoo-ins to be nominated for Best Picture. I thought those were going to get nominated. So I'm shocked, and honestly kind of disappointed that those films didn't get nominated for Best Picture. But at the same time, seeing films like Sound of Metal, The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, and Nomadland here, it's very deserving. And I'm rooting for Nomadland. I'm going to be okay if Nomadland wins, but if something like Minari took this home, I would be happy. If Judas and the Black Messiah took this home, I'd be happy. If The Father took this home, I'd be happy. I wouldn't be angry if any of these won, but the only ones I really personally don't want to win are Mank and The Trial of the Chicago 7. But I feel if Nomadland does not win this, it's going to go probably to The Trial of the Chicago 7. I have no idea how it's going to go, but yeah, that's my input on Best Picture. I mean, there's a lot of films that could have been nominated here. Yeah, One Night in Miami, Ma Rainey's Black Bomb, Another Round, The Five Bloods. Palm Springs, I would have loved to have gotten nominated, but obviously I knew that wasn't going to happen. Soul, you know, they haven't nominated an animated film for Best Picture since Toy Story 3, and I'm kind of shocked that nothing's been nominated since. I thought they would have nominated something for Best Picture in the animated category.
I also want to mention some other movies that I never would have expected to be here, but I'm sad to see didn't get recognized anywhere. 2 movies. The first being Never, Rarely, Sometimes.
Oh my God.
Which is just an unbelievable movie.
She should have been nominated for Best Actress. She should have been nominated, and that script should have been nominated too. Yeah,
Eliza Hittman, I think, has a great case for Best Director, I think.
Yes.
I mean, she was so good in that movie. Ridiculously good. And also, I'm thinking of Ending Things.
Oh my God.
The Charlie Kaufman movie?
Yes. Jessie Buckley for Best Actress. Charlie Kaufman for Adapted Screenplay. Cinematography.
So many options.
Like, the Academy loves Charlie Kaufman. I'm shocked that he didn't get nominated.
I don't know what happened here.
Well, I don't know if Netflix didn't really... I don't know if they've really campaigned that movie. I feel like they put all their campaigning into Ma Rainey, Mank, and Chicago 7. So that's why I feel that maybe The Five Bloods didn't get as much. Also, The Five Bloods came out super early in the year, but I feel like that really doesn't matter at the same time because there have been many movies that have come out super early in the year where they would get nominated for all these Oscars and everything. But yeah, I feel like Netflix put all their campaign towards Mank, Ma Rainey, Chicago 7. Like, I agree.
It's got lost in the shuffle, I guess.
It did.
You know? Because publicity really does make such a big difference. That hustle, I mean, that's how people like Riz Ahmed have kept Sound of Metal in the conversation, and now it's nominated for Best Picture. I mean, not to say that it was solely him, but he had that star power that brought a lot to it. I definitely put a lot more eyes on it than I think it would if somebody else was there. He's an incredibly likable personality, and he's really shown out through promoting this film. So I think you make a great point. It touches on something big about the Oscars that I think is really skeevy, but also it's hard to deny how important promoting yourself and your film is for the Oscars. It makes a huge difference. And I agree. I think all the chips were in a very specific basket, and they were just not not as distributed as some people may have hoped. But I think we have a pretty diverse and really unique selection of Best Picture films here, as a lot of the things that we've gone over tonight is just a showcase of so many different kinds of films that really I would never have expected to be nominated for an Oscar on primetime television, with this kind of hype and atmosphere around it. I think that's what makes the Oscars so fun to follow at the end of the day, is just how institutional it is in America, and following the paths and storylines that come with these films and their path towards the Oscars. It really takes on a life in itself.
Yeah, definitely. So, who would you say you're rooting for to win, and then who do you think is going to take home the award?
I'm definitely rooting for... this is tough, man. It's tough. I mean, I know Nomadland's going to win. Like, I know it, because everyone loves that movie. I think there are so many solid choices here. I think I would love to see Minari get recognized, as that beautiful little independent project that it is coming out of Sundance.
Yeah.
Be a great story. I think The Father would be a really interesting choice, considering how well crafted and constructed it is.
Yeah.
Promising Young Woman for how unique and daring it is. Just like Carey Mulligan, I think it carries such an aura around it right now that I don't think any other movie really has in that way. So, yeah, there's some really interesting projects here. I'm counting out Trial of Chicago 7 and Mank because they're not that I don't think they could do it, but I think on a different year they probably could.
Yeah.
But this year, I think, is bringing along with it such an emphasis on something other than straight white dominated story.
Yeah.
Like male encompassing, which I guess isn't entirely true, because Judas and the Black Messiah, I think, is the best example out of all these for that. While it is a pretty male-dominated story, it does a great job of highlighting this slightly significantly more unrecognized part of history in a really creative and thoughtful way. And obviously the performances we mentioned are bar none too, and just insane. So it's really great to see that there, and it would be fantastic if that movie took it even. But I think there's sort of a changing of the tide situation. And just as a byproduct of 2020 being the weird year that it is, I think that these films like Nomadland and Promising Young Woman are really at the forefront of the Best Picture categories. Surprisingly, did not think that I would be saying this coming into this Oscar season, but here we are.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy show for sure. I mean, I have no idea how everything's going to go down, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching more of these movies and catching up in preparation for the show. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and that is going to conclude tonight's episode of the B-Roll. Gabe, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you about the Oscars and all these other various topics going on in the world of film. It was really, really exciting, and yeah.
Just hype. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
It was such a blast.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. And where could the people find you online? On social media, maybe a letterbox if you have one, anywhere?
Oh, absolutely. I'm on Letterboxd. I'm Gabe Reels, as in like film reels, and on Twitter it's the same thing. Those are my two main avenues right now. So check me out on there. I don't post very often, but when I do, it's something.
Yeah.
Real great promotion, but yeah, it's a great show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on. I expect a full review of the Snyder Cut on Letterboxd. I need to just talk to more people about it, so make time for those 4 hours and watch that movie. Oh man,
I will.
Oh yes, I'm very excited. But yeah, you guys can follow me on social media at Brian Suffield. Links will be in the description wherever you're listening to this episode. Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the B-Roll Pod. Just stay up to date with the show through social media. Subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it. Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to this. Really, guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I will see you guys for the very next episode of the B-Roll when we're back in a few weeks. Take care, everybody. Peace out.